Good morning. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to First Take. Thank you for being with us on this Tuesday. Domonique Foxworth is in the building. I like the green, sir. Nate, great to have you with us.
Thank you. I think I won the fit check today. Well, second place to you, Molly, but
No, this is whatever. You won.
yeah, I got Stephen A. and Shannon. Easy dub.
Shannon.
He's entitled
Good
to
morning. Good morning. Good morning.
What's going
Stephen
on,
A., how are you guys?
I'm good. What's up? What's up, Shay? What's going on, boy?
I'm good, Stephen.
Right.
Dominic, nah, bro.
You give me a good run. I like the blue, but I mean, maybe it's neck and neck between me and you, but Stephen A. is easy. Just Euro step right around Stephen A.
Damn.
Laid that thing up.
You're entitled to your belief. I'm in business mode today. I got some stuff to do after the show, so that's what that's.
Okay.
But I understand.
All right, well, now that we're all done complimenting ourselves, let's talk about some football. We got to witness Aaron Rodgers' much-anticipated return on Monday night in the Bay Area. Is he still that bad man? That's the question. One positive moment, Rodgers did complete a pass on his fourth snap of the season. However, it was a shovel pass to Breece Hall, who fumbled. It was that kind of opener for Rodgers, whose highly anticipated comeback was spoiled by mistakes, poor performances on both sides of the ball in a 32-19 loss to the Niners on Monday. Let's hear from the Jets post-game. Gentlemen.
We expect greatness when we step on the field. There were moments, for sure. Moments that felt really good, but not sustained. This is a tough opener for us, travel-wise and schedule-wise, but no excuses. We got to play better. I got to play better.
They whipped our ass today, and that's the reality of it. And we got to find a way to get better. The great teams will bounce back from this, and that's what we plan to do.
We'll be better, 100%. Like I'm not worried. I mean, give San Francisco a lot of credit. I'm not worried offensively. I'm not worried defensively. We'll get it fixed.
All right, Stephen A., was this a bad game or a bad sign from Aaron Rodgers and the Jets?
I think it was a bad sign, but let me explain why. It's not because of Aaron Rodgers. I didn't think Aaron Rodgers looked awful. I didn't think he looked great. He had a couple of good moments, some not so much. Did you see time of possession? You saw how San Francisco had the ball 17 more minutes than the New York Jets. Did you see how the Jets had the lowest time of possession, or rather Aaron Rodgers had the lowest time of possession pretty much in his career at 21 minutes and 20 seconds? I think it was something like that. Did you see that? Because I'm looking at it, fellas, and I'm of this mindset. Robert Saleh's on the clock. Robert Saleh's on the clock. I mean, I think his job should be in jeopardy. Yeah, I'm not saying this after one game. Did you see that stat? 1-14 in primetime games, 0 for his last 5. Now, he had the excuse of not having a quarterback, but let me tell you why this resonates with me last night. Who's that team he was going against? 40. Wasn't that the team that he was the defensive coordinator for 4 years? Wasn't that the team isn't that head coach a guy he worked under for 4 years? Did you not know the kind of things that he was going to do? If your defense, they punt on their first possession and score on 8 straight possessions. How'd that happen to your defense? This is the New York Jets defense. What have we been bragging about? What have we been talking about? Why have we been looking at the New York Jets and saying, yo, they can contend for the Super Bowl? It wasn't because of Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. That was basically, that was the finishing touches. But what we raved about was the New York Jets defense. That's what we talked about here. I know Huff, your lead edge rusher, he's gone, and Hassan Reddick was supposed to be the cat in there, and you ain't get him signed yet. I get that. But we know how anemic their offense has been. You guys know this better than me, Shay. You know what I'm saying, Dominique? Y'all know, knowing the NFL the way that y'all do, talking to people in the NFL, they've talked about how pedestrian and anemic the Jets' offense was with Nathaniel Hackett as their offensive coordinator, but we all know that he's only there because Aaron Rodgers is there, okay? So we got that part. But defensively, we ain't supposed to have any questions. And when you looked at what transpired last night, I'm looking at Robert Saleh, and I'm like this: what purpose are you serving if your defense can't stop somebody? What purpose are you possibly serving? That's what I peeled away from last night, which is why I think it's a bad sign. Everybody ain't San Francisco. I get that. But I'm bringing it on him, Shay. I'm bringing it on him, Dom, because he worked there under that coach. If there's anybody that you would think he would look great against, it's that man, because of your familiarity with their system and how they like to do things and their personnel. And we didn't see that last night.
Shannon?
Yeah, I'm going to take a different approach than you, Stephen A. I think it's one game for the thing that you highlighted at the end. Everybody's not going to be able to run the ball like San Francisco did last night, Jordan Mason. Never, he didn't rush for have a game rushing like that since high school. Everybody's not going to be able to call plays. Everybody doesn't have a big physical offensive line like the San Francisco 49ers. So I just think it was a one-game situation. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall fumbling the ball. That took some of the momentum out of them. But with that being said, I thought the Jets looked okay. I'm not saying they're great, Stephen A. I'm not saying they're going to win 13, 14 ball games. But the 49ers are as good as advertised. They're as good as we thought they would be. And I know they probably had a little letdown, like, well, they're not going to be able to run the ball without Christian McCaffrey or do some of the things. But if you go back and study Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan's system, when they have a running back, the standard is the standard, and all those guys are going to run hard. You see a Terrell Davis, you see an Alfred Morris, you see a Mike Anderson, Orlando Gary. It does not matter. You look at when they had Raheem Mostert and Breda and Jeff Wilson Jr. It does not matter the running back. It is a standard. It is and say what we do is we do what we do. That big offensive line, they're going to push people out the way. Brock Purdy had all day to throw the football for the simple fact when you run play action, because you got to get an extra man down in the box to try to stop the run. So now all of a sudden when he play action, he puts that ball in Mason's belly or Debo's belly. What do you think is going to happen? Guys are going to be wide open. I'm not saying it's a bad sign. I think it was one game because there ain't three or four football teams that are as talented as the 49ers, that have a play caller like the 49ers. I think the Jets are going to be just fine.
The problem with that take, Shannon, is that the 3 or 4 football teams that are that good are the teams that the Jets are going to have to beat. The Jets aren't trying to make the playoffs. They didn't bring Aaron Rodgers in to be good. They didn't bring Aaron Rodgers. I think they probably do win 10, 11, 12 games this year because they're that talented. They brought him in to beat teams like this. And it's early, so maybe they'll get better, but it is still a bad sign for some of the things that Stephen A. was alluding to. And you used the phrase for the 49ers running game that the standard is the standard. Does that not apply for the Jets defense? Isn't the standard there? They've been a top 5 defense for the past several years. The standard is the standard there. And I think what Stephen A. was getting close to, or well, not getting close to, was saying directly, was it was an issue with coaching. And we saw that. And maybe being juxtaposed with the 49ers is a really bad look. Not maybe, it is a really bad look. But we saw positional blocking set up by the 49ers scheme. We saw running game or big runs break out because the 49ers set up those runs, those misdirections. We didn't see that. We saw Breece Hall running directly into the line. And we noticed the 49ers, they didn't want to get the third down. And when they did get the third down, it was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3. Sure. Aaron Rodgers spent his life in 3rd and 7 last night. And you also noticed those passing plays that were completed. I rewatched the game this morning, and all the passing plays, just about all the plays that were completed for Aaron Rodgers were tight window man-to-man throws. You see the passing plays completed by the 49ers, it's just Gesicki running down the, or not Gesicki, it's Juszczyk running down the sideline wide open.
Kittle.
It's people, it's Kittle running down the sideline wide open. It's people wide open. And that's the point that Stephen A. is pointing to, that why this is a bad sign is because that's going to be, they're going to play a ton of talented teams in the playoffs. The difference is going to be, are they prepared? And they were not prepared last night.
Shannon, did you ever see that movie Norbit? You ever saw that movie, the movie Norbit? I
did, yeah, Rasputia.
Now, Rasputia, you understand what I'm saying? You, man, this Cap Mason was running through holes as wide as you and Rasputia put together. Come on, man. You can't, that's ridiculous, okay? So we got to look at it from that standpoint, all right? We got to also understand this, okay? Hassan Reddick is out. You got no – Trent Williams didn't allow a quarterback pressure in 33 snaps. You had Brock Purdy standing back, taking pictures, calling the family and everything else in between, okay? You got to look at that and say, wait a minute, how'd that happen? And, oh, by the way, let's remind everybody, it's Mason we're talking about, who you pointed out and made my argument for me, Shannon, ain't done that since high school. Yeah. That wasn't Christian McCaffrey. That wasn't C-Mac out there. That was this Cap Mason, who we barely heard of, running roughshod all over the New York Jets. Where the hell was your defense? Where the hell was your run defense? Where the hell was your pass rush? That's what I'm talking about. You're Robert Saleh, excuse me. We understood that you had the argument with no offense because you had Zach Wilson as a quarterback and what have you. That ain't the case, and Nathaniel Hackett is your offensive coordinator. Now Aaron Rodgers is there, okay? We get that part, but defensively, there is no excuse for how they looked last night. None.
But here's the thing, guys. I was really never as high on the Jets as everybody else was. Okay. Because what happens when they can't turn you over and you just play straight up and it's like, okay, we're gonna stop you. But when they can't get scooping scores or put the offense on the short field, now Aaron Rodgers is going to help the offense because he's better than any quarterback they've had in at least the last decade, maybe 2 decades. We get that. Garrett Wilson, they have some playmakers. But when you can't possess the football, that defense was tired. When you're on the field, Domonique, you play defense, I played offense. I love keeping the defense on the field when we're like 30, when it's like 34, 35 minutes and you've only had it in the 20s. Oh, we're gonna wear you down because you can't hold up. You cannot hold up. And the 49ers play a style. I said there's something to be said about a team that can run the ball. Nothing is more discouraging than a team running the ball down your throat. Because when you move a man against his will, that's textbook, Stephen A. Moving a man against his will. You know, Quincy Williams and those guys putting their hands in the dirt and said, we're not going anywhere. And Trent Williams and McCovey said, the hell you say, you getting up out of here. And they just moved them down the field. And when you can run the football, it makes everything that much easier. Play action. That's why you see Debo scot-free. That's why you see Jennings scot-free. Hell, you dropped a couple of passes, or if they were better than 2 or 5 in the red zone, it would have, Stephen A., if they were better than 2 or 5 in the red zone, that thing might have been 45-50 tonight, whatever the final score was.
Which is, once again, making my point about their defense.
Yeah. All right, I want to move it forward here, guys. And we've been lauding all offseason the AFC, right? But after this first week, the NFC is looking tough. And, Neek, I'll start with you on this. Do you feel like the Niners are the biggest threat out of the NFC?
It's hard to argue with what we saw last night. I think what the Lions did a couple nights ago was also really impressive. The way that, to your point, Shannon, the way that their O-line in overtime was like, you know what? We're just going to run the ball right at you, tell you what it is, you can't stop it. I think we have to respect that. But I'm going to lead towards the 49ers in part because they have a proven pass rush and their secondary is healthier and playing well. I think we still have questions about how good the Lions secondary is going to be. They have young players. They brought back some other players to help solidify their safety group. Yeah. So I think the big question for them is going to be, can they generate a pass rush late in the season? We know the 49ers can with Bosa and Floyd, Hargrave. Those guys up front are going to put pressure on the passer. The question for the Lions hasn't yet been answered yet, that they can consistently put pressure on the quarterback late in the season.
I get where you're coming from with that, and I don't have any problem because I got San Francisco coming out of the NFC. I think they're the team to beat, no question. But I can't ignore what I'm seeing. I can't ignore what I saw with Saquon Barkley and the kind of impact that he can have on the Philadelphia Eagles. With A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with Dallas Goedert, with an offensive line that's considered top 2, top 3 in the National Football League, with Jalen Hurts, and we're hoping that he's going to replicate what we saw from him 2 years ago as opposed to last season. And I believe in the brother. I'm looking at it from that standpoint. Now, obviously, they've got some defensive question marks, but you know a potent offense can neutralize a lot of things. Saying I can't sneeze at that. I can't ignore what we're seeing from the well-coached Detroit Lions. We can't ignore that. And I certainly can't ignore what we could potentially see from the Los Angeles Rams. Puka Nacua is out for the next 4 weeks or so. But what about when he gets back with Cooper Kupp, with Sean McVay calling plays? I like what I see from the Los Angeles Rams. And we know they always give San Francisco trouble. They always have very interesting and compelling games going up against each other as division rivals. So I'm looking at it from that standpoint, and I'm saying, again, San Francisco should be the favorites, but the NFC conference is very, very interesting because there are some teams that could beat it. Remember, NFC Championship game, Detroit runs the football a little bit more in the second half. They win that game. They're going to the Super Bowl. We got to look at it from that standpoint and say you can't underestimate nothing that we're seeing in the NFC right now.
If you want to beat the 49ers, it starts with interior play. You got to be more physical than they are. They are a physical team. Offense and defensive line is where they make their hay. They're going to run the football. You better stop it. And if you can't stop the run, now you're susceptible to play action. And you see what happens when you couldn't stop the run, the Jets? We know, we go back and study history. The teams that when they're healthy, when the 49ers are all in play, it's hard to beat them because we haven't seen a team as physical as them. We see the Cowboys, they're not as physical as them. Now, we know what the Eagles were physical last year, but I don't know defensively if they're going to be able to hold up. We see offensively, A.J. Brown, Devontae, they got some weapons. Saquon adds another dimension. But, boy, you better be able to hold up defensively against them because Kyle Shanahan is going to dial it up. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to still dial it up once he gets to the Super Bowl, but we know in the regular season and in the getting all the way up to the Super Bowl, we know he is as good a game planner, manager as we have in this game. So I agree with y'all guys. I like Philadelphia. I like the Detroit Lions. I like what they did Sunday night. But, boy, the 49ers, top to bottom. Now, imagine what they did. They did that without C-Mac, the offensive player of the year. They did that without him.
Yeah, we can't underscore that enough.
Yeah, I think the tough thing about the Eagles and the 49ers matchup is that the Eagles' weakest point is the linebackers, and the 49ers love to put the linebackers in conflict. So Jalen Carter, he got a little, he ran out of energy towards the end of last season. If he can be dominant on the D-line, I think it makes life easier for the Eagles when they do play the 49ers. But the big question is going to be how's Vic Fangio going to protect those linebackers from being put in run-pass conflicts, that play action that you're talking about, that the 49ers, they just love to pick on linebackers. And the Eagles, if there is a weak spot in their defense, it is those linebackers.
No question.
Yep. All right. ESPN Bet still has the Niners favorited to win the Super Bowl.